früheste Erinnerung ist, dass ich 2 sich kreuzende M-Wagen-Züge in der äußeren Leopoldstraße aus dem Auto heraus beobachtet habe. Und später, als wir später an der
My earliest memory was of 2 M-car trains crossing each other in the outer Leopoldstrasse. Passing by years later, there was nothing left of tramways. I realized then that the line had been closed down on the 19th of October, 1971. That was pretty early. I myself was surprised. Okay, there is this nice picture of me. I can't actually remember it being taken, but I did something like that at the time.
Dass ich sowas zu der Zeit gemacht habe, das weiß ich schon. 75, 76, so um den Jahreswechsel, da habe ich dann mal angefangen, das alles systematisch aufzumalen, was da ist. Ja, ich hatte den Gleisplan eben von dem Nordbad aufgemalt. Das war ja damals noch ganz nett, nicht? 2 sich kreuzende Strecken mit so einer schönen Schleifenanlage noch dran. Da, wo teilweise jetzt das Stadtarchiv draufsteht. Und das hatte ich eben auch.
I had just drawn the rail track map of Nordbad area, which used to be really nice at that time. 2 lines crossing and a beautiful loop attached to it. My father looked at it and found it a bit strange. He thought there was something wrong with it. I insisted that it was right, so we went there together and had a look. I can't remember that one, although it must have been quite impressive for my parents, because I had been right.
Obwohl das für meine Eltern natürlich ein ziemlich eindrucksvolles Erlebnis war, weil es nämlich so stimmte. Ich habe mir zum Beispiel nie darüber Gedanken gemacht, ob ich jetzt der Einzige bin, der sich dafür interessiert oder nicht. Auf die Idee wäre ich nie gekommen.
I never thought about whether I'm the only one interested in that subject or not, or asked if there is anybody else at all. I thought it was funny and couldn't give a shit if it was considered to be eccentric or not. And so I was not especially surprised getting hold of that Tramway magazine. It was great to have that, but I wasn't surprised. Because I knew it was interesting for me. Why shouldn't it be interesting for other people as well? So this was issue 30, the issue from November 1978.
Und das war eben die Nummer 30, das war die November-Ausgabe von 78. Das macht ja nichts. Das macht ja nichts.
It doesn't matter where we're getting off and if nothing's happening. Now you can get a nice shot of the train disappearing behind the corner.
Diese Netzentwicklung, die ist hier ganz nett. Weil wir hatten nach dem Krieg.
The development of the network here is quite nice, because after the war, this was one of the first new tramway constructions. 1950 to 1952. They connected the steelworks over there. This was the first junction, and from that track, there was another junction directly leading to the factory ground. But 2 years later, they gave it up again, possibly because they got problems with the factory-owned railway.
Das war dann auch eine der kurzlebigsten Strecken. Ja, was eine Straßenbahn eigentlich sein soll, ist eine reine Definitionsfrage. Für manche ist eine Straßenbahn.
What a tramway really is supposed to be is a question of pure definition. To some people, a tramway is not a tramway anymore when it's not running on a concrete surface. What it exactly is, one can't tell, because at first tramways were intercity connections. Germany's first horse-powered tramway ran in Berlin from Kupfergraben to Charlottenburg. If you walk down that track today, you pass through mostly unbuilt land.
Also die ersten U-Bahn-Betriebe in Deutschland haben ja als Hochbahnen angefangen, weil man damals eben noch nicht zu viel Geld ausgeben wollte. Und nun konnte man aber mit diesen Hochbahnen nicht einfach durch das Stadtzentrum brettern. Und deshalb hat man eben damals nicht solche Radialstrecken
Germany's first subway services started as elevated railways because one didn't want to spend too much money at that time. And therefore they didn't construct radial lines, but managed to get around the city centers. And because they started in this different way, the old German subway networks don't have a very pronounced star-shaped structure.
Eine ausgeprägt sternförmige Netzstruktur, weil die eben einfach ganz anders angefangen haben. Ich habe ja einmal den Hörer in der Hand und am Ende ist halt der Seltzer und sagt, ja, wer kann.
Well, I picked up the receiver, and on the other end of the line there was Mr. Seltzer, telling me that he got a gallery in Berlin and wanted to put up an exhibition. He had read the article about me in the Süddeutsche Zeitung. I didn't care much. It wasn't for the first time anyway.
Das war ja nicht das erste Mal. Generell bildet ja jedes Verkehrsnetz auf seine Weise die Stadt ab. Und beim öffentlichen Nahverkehr ist die Abbildung immer am deutlichsten, weil der öffentliche Nahverkehr ja Verkehrsströme in mehr oder weniger heftiger Weise konzentriert, um was sinnvoll wegschaffen zu können.
Generally, every traffic network depicts the city in a way. And public transport does this most clearly, because public transport has to concentrate the streams of traffic in a more or less intense way to get things done quickly. The tramway depicts city structures exactly, because it has the biggest capacity with the best adaptation to the city's context. The city's structure grows. It proliferates. The picture we get from it can also deform or proliferate depending on political, ecological or social conditions.
Im einen oder im anderen Sinne verformt oder wuchert. Im Jahr 1986 fiel endlich ein Einstieg.
In 1986, a unanimous decision was finally made by the council according to what tramway system itself should be preserved. And already 5 years later, the council proposed a concept for a means of public transport. For the first time, it was based on the preservation of the tramway. This concept included the closure of several lines, as well as the building of new lines. In fact, the reaction of the public transport department was foreseeable, for they happily shut down all the tracks, which fell into the concept. This resulted in the closure of 18 kilometers of railway tracks in 1993. Whereas in the same period of time, 400 meters were newly added.
Ungefähr 18 Kilometer Strecken stillgelegt worden sind. Das ist schon interessant, wenn man das und 400 Meter Neubaustrecke dazu kam. Unter so relativ standardisierten Verhältnissen wie in der Sowjetunion doch die meisten Netze.
Even under such comparatively standardized conditions as in the Soviet Union, it's interesting that most networks developed some peculiarities. In Minsk, there are the roundabouts. Most of them are illogical. Either cut through in one direction or cut through only halfway. I don't know what it's good for, but it looks nice.
Weiß ich selber nicht so genau, aber es schaut ganz schön aus. Das ist zum Beispiel auch eine Sache, an der sie in Moskau rumknabbern, weil es wurde irgendwann mal die Forderung aufgestellt, dieser Weg.
In Moscow, they're dealing with another problem, as at some point the demand had been made that the commuting from suburbs into the city mustn't be longer than half an hour. Well, this is of course a problem of distances, and the point is there is no limitation to how close your working place has to be to the place where you live, to still be able to seriously make this demand.
Dass ich diese Zeitforderung noch gerechtfertigt stellen darf. Das sind diese merkwürdigen Freiheitsbegriffe, die sich inzwischen eingebürgert haben, die bei uns auch sogar schon von Verfassungsrechtlern.
These are the strange ideas of freedom that have meanwhile been established, even used by constitutional lawyers, possibly leading soon to the point where freedom is far and in between. When you define mobility as a basic right, and in plain or not so plain words talk about automobility, then you have to deform the constitution quite a bit, to still be able to adhere to the Constitution.
Da muss man das Grundgesetz schon ziemlich verbiegen, um sich da dann noch seine Legitimation herholen zu können, weil das die massenhafte Anwendung des Autos.
As the mass use of automobiles significantly deforms the constitutional rights of quite a lot of people. I don't know, there are people who accuse you of being ideological.
Ich weiß nicht, es gibt Leute, die werfen anderen vor, man sähe das ideologisch. Früher bin ich da ziemlich zornig geworden.
I used to get mad about that, sometimes I still do. I really don't know what's so ideological about that, since it's not a matter of senseless driving back and forth, but a matter of a sensible outline. And this outline can generally not mean the supply of more traffic space, regardless of the means of transport.
Und zwar im Grunde genommen egal für welches Verkehrsmittel.